If you struggle with shyness or social anxiety, check out our free No BS training course with actual useful advice you can do from home. None of that just get out there nonsense. The link is in the description below. For now, let's get to today's question.
The question, what is the most effective way to treat social anxiety? Answer by Rebecca Knowles. Socially anxious people often feel under the spotlight and believe that everyone is thinking badly of them. They often hold beliefs that they are no good socially, are boring, and that they have nothing interesting to contribute. After social events, they tend to pick out parts that they believe went poorly and beat themselves up over them. This post probably explains it better. 13 confident ways to overcome your shyness. Mobita. To cope with social anxiety, people tend to avoid social situations if possible, e.g., pubs, canteens, queues, etc. If they can't avoid them, they tend to try and stay in the background and attract as little attention to themselves as possible, e.g., say very little. Unhelpful thoughts also typically play a damaging role just prior to people entering social environments, as they predict they will perform poorly, e.g., "I'll have nothing to say." Similarly, unhelpful thoughts influence people during social situations, e.g., "I'm making a fool of myself," as they assume they are not coming across well. To make matters worse, after social situations, people often analyze their performance and assume they have performed poorly. When considering these factors, it is easy to see how unhelpful thoughts stop people overcoming their social anxiety. This is because by avoiding social situations, people stop themselves having positive experiences that could disprove some of their unhelpful thoughts. Furthermore, the longer someone avoids a social situation, the more daunting it becomes and it is increasingly difficult to face. A final point worth noting is that safety behaviors can result in what is known as self-fulfilling prophecies. For example, by staying quiet in social situations, people may come across as distant and others may respond by making less of an effort. As a result, their beliefs that they can't mix well remain in place. The following section will help you begin to recognize if you are thinking about things in an unhelpful or unrealistic way, and discuss how you can start to make changes to this. By doing so, you can learn to see things in a more realistic light, which can help to reduce your social anxiety. You might have unhelpful thoughts about all kinds of things. Here are some examples. Once you have asked yourself these questions, you should read through your answers. Try to come up with a more balanced or rational view. For example, although we do this in the hope being reassured that we are not visibly anxious, this strategy actually just makes things much worse. This is because we tend to overestimate how visible our anxiety is, and this of course makes us feel even more self-conscious. Also, by focusing on ourselves, we are prevented from fully concentrating on the conversations around us. This naturally makes it more difficult to join in properly, and we usually end up interacting less well than we could. This typically strengthens our beliefs that we are no good in such situations. The reality is that anxiety is a lot less visible than we think. Often we have no idea if someone is anxious or not, and it can help to remember this. Similarly, when we feel socially anxious, we tend to spend time monitoring how well we are performing during social interactions. This too prevents us from paying proper attention to the conversations we are engaged in. For example, we may spend time trying to figure out if our voice sounds shaky, or go over and over the things we have said in our minds. Again, by doing so, we end up finding it hard to follow conversations, which likely makes us perform worse. Given all of this, it is helpful to try to remove this tendency to focus on ourselves. Below you will find tips designed to help you during social interactions. Remember that as you progress through each stage of your hierarchy, your confidence will grow. This should mean that items which are higher on your hierarchy, that seem very daunting at first, will be less frightening when you actually come to face them because of your previous achievements. Answer by Dan Roberto. Step 1 to really curing your anxiety in social situations is to first understand that the anxiety you have was created as a habit at one point in your life, in the past. You may remember when this happened. You may not. While all the different feelings, thoughts, and sensations you experience during social anxiety might be very unique to you, first understand that it's all because of your brain habit. The neural connections in your brain have been wired to think they are firing correctly, and protecting you. Step 1 is understanding this. Step 2 is separating yourself from the social anxiety disorder. You are not your disorder. It is not because of your genes. It is not who you are meant to be forever. When you experience social anxiety or are confronted with it, it's important to say something like, "I am not the social anxiety disorder." I am not the fear or thoughts I am feeling. Step 3 is the last step, but the most uncomfortable step. It is accepting your anxiety and allowing it to be there. This also means putting yourself into a situation where you are forced to accept it. It is uncomfortable, and can be for a day, or for weeks. But this is where you are reprogramming the neural connections in your brain to know and understand that there is not really a real threat. Simultaneously, you need to divert your attention and distract yourself. So even as you feel uncomfortable, it's important to continue moving forward as if everything is okay. To recap: 1. Understand what's going on in your brain. 2. Rename it. 3. Accept and distract yourself. Put these 3 steps into place and commit to them, and you will see change. I also encourage you, if you are in a habit of searching online for the cure or searching for other people who relate to you, to break that habit. This feeds the social anxiety and makes it stronger. I did a very short video the other day on part of the second step of curing anxiety. Hope it can encourage you forward. Getting rid of anxiety, the answer to dealing with your anxiety, explained in under 3 minutes. Answer by Himanshu Dani. I was at a wonderful birthday party and something unexpected was about to come. I was with my cousins and friends enjoying a drink. 3 girls were sitting on a couch in front of us and had been watching me for a few minutes. I smiled at them with a hi and they laughed at me with an insulting gesture. With their apparent body language, I understood that I was laughed at by them because I hadn't tucked my shirt in and I was looking way too messy to them. My friends noticed that and even they were surprised by the attitude of those girls. I felt bad but I ignored them and went on with the party. Slowly I started brooding over the issue and my mind was completely off the party. It was an embarrassment between my friends and relatives. The worst part was many people in the public knew me and they were going to remember this incident about me since they had witnessed it personally. I was in distress. I started to think what was the real problem for my disturbance. I observed the magnitude to which my agony went was not proportional to the extent the thing that had happened. It was true that I was insulted and that made me upset. But the insult was not the only reason for my upset. My thinking of what others, the ones who witnessed my insult, were thinking of me was also making me upset. I was unconsciously telling myself that my friends might be laughing at me. It is so embarrassing and shameful. I should be ashamed of the insult. The insult proves I am unattractive, etc. This kind of self-talk also contributed to my feeling bad. This is called magnification. Life situations and people upset us, but we upset ourselves more by thinking that they upset us. What throws into the black hole of negative thoughts and feelings is what we think about the happening rather than the happening itself. Social anxiety. You have social anxiety not because you are incompetent or unattractive or weak. It is because you believe that it's bad that people laugh at you, they ridicule you, they put you down, they talk rubbish about you, etc., etc. You feel you are socially different and the reason for that is you are socially different and competent only in your eye. Others rarely say anything, but you assume that you are being laughed at or insulted. It's more about what you think and not about others say. Thousands of people are insulted every day and not everyone gets upset to the same level. The reason for this is that not everybody thinks that insult and ridicule determine their self-esteem. They do not define their self-worth by insults and ridicules. The solution is that you have the freedom to think positively about yourself. If you change the way you think, you will change the way you feel. Nobody is good or bad until he or she is good or bad. And get insulted and ridiculed every day, that is not the end of the world. Expose yourself to social situations that will bring anxiety for you and see the magic that the anxiety burns itself away. This is the ultimate solution to social anxiety. The great Albert Ellis says,